Yeah. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Here's your Nightwolf Mysteries number 0.2, written in the short issue 0 style, continuous, and part of the beta storyline.
What are you getting here?
Nightwolf Mysteries number 0.2. This is part of the beta storyline, part 1 of part 4 of Saga 1. The past was never far from Nightwolf. Every movement he made, every strike, every calculated decision in the field, it all traced back to the people who had trained him. Among them was one name that stood alongside the greatest, Master Kenji Takahara. Years ago, before he became the protector of Jackson City, Max Jackson stood in a quiet dojo far from the chaos of crime and corruption. The air was still, the discipline absolute. Kenji Takahara did not train warriors for glory. He trained them for purpose. Max learned precision, patience, and control. Every motion was deliberate, every mistake corrected without hesitation. He learned how to read opponents before they moved, how to use the environment, and how to remain calm even when facing overwhelming odds. Kenji's lessons were not just about combat, they were about balance. Power without control was weakness. Speed without awareness was failure. Max carried those lessons with him long after his training ended. In the present, those lessons were being put to the test. Jackson City had a new threat, the Red Dragon mercenaries. Unlike common criminals, these were trained soldiers, organized, disciplined, and heavily armed. Their operations were precise, targeting high-value locations and disappearing before law enforcement could respond. But this time, they had made a mistake. Commissioner Daniel Mercer stood at the center of a coordinated police operation, directing units into position around an abandoned industrial complex. His voice was steady, commanding. All units, hold positions. Wait for my signal. From above, unseen by the mercenaries below, Nightwolf watched. He had already scouted the area, mapped their movements, and identified their weak points. When Mercer gave the signal, the operation began. Police units moved in, surrounding the building, but the Red Dragon mercenaries reacted instantly, opening fire and attempting to break through the perimeter. They were faster and more coordinated than most criminals, forcing the officers to take cover. That was when Nightwolf struck. Dropping from the shadows, he moved through the mercenaries with precision learned from masters like Kenji Takahara. Every strike was controlled, every movement efficient. He disarmed one mercenary, redirected another's attack, and used their own momentum against them. The battle unfolded quickly. Mercer's officers regained control of the situation as Nightwolf dismantled the mercenaries' formation. Their coordination began to fall apart, their advantage slipping away. Within minutes, the tide had turned. One by one, the Red Dragon mercenaries were subdued, restrained, and surrounded. The operation was over. As police secured the area, Nightwolf stepped back into the shadows, his presence already fading. He didn't wait for recognition. He never did. Later that night, the story spread across the city. On the news, Grant Mercer stood in front of the scene, microphone in hand, with his co-reporter Grace Jensen beside him. Earlier tonight, Grant reported, a coordinated effort between the Jackson City Police Department resulted in the capture of multiple Red Dragon mercenaries. Grace continued, Commissioner Daniel Mercer led the operation, with sources suggesting the involvement of the vigilante known as Nightwolf. Behind them, flashing lights illuminated the captured mercenaries as officers secured the area. In the shadows of a nearby rooftop, Nightwolf watched the report briefly before turning away. Another mission complete. Another reminder of the training that shaped him. The past had made him who he was, and the present proved why it mattered. If you want, I can continue with Nightwolf Mysteries number 1, where the Red Dragon mercenaries are revealed to be working for a bigger...
Now we are bringing in a new villain to the Nightwolf story. And it involves technology.
Here's your Nightwolf Mysteries number 1, written in your long, continuous format and part of the beta storyline. Nightwolf Mysteries number 1. This is part of the beta storyline, part 1 of part 4 of Saga 1. Jackson City had seen its share of strange threats, but this one was different. It didn't leave fingerprints, footprints, or even a consistent pattern. It appeared in systems, in security feeds, in digital records, and then somehow in the real world. They called it Kilo Glitch. At first, it was dismissed as a cyber attack. Banks reported disappearing funds, security systems malfunctioned, and entire networks shut down without explanation. Then things escalated. Surveillance footage showed something impossible, distorted figures flickering in and out of existence, moving unnaturally fast, phasing through barriers like they weren't even there. Officers who responded to the scenes reported equipment failures, communications going dead, and in some cases, brief encounters with something that wasn't entirely physical. Nightwolf didn't believe in coincidences. From the Batcave-like depths of his operations center, he studied hours of corrupted footage. Frame by frame, he analyzed the distortions. The entity wasn't random. It followed patterns appearing near high-tech systems, energy sources, and data hubs. It wasn't just a glitch. It was something using technology as a gateway. He tracked its next likely appearance to a major data facility in the financial district. By the time he arrived, the building was already compromised. Lights flickered, alarms blared, and screens displayed cascading errors. Inside, something moved. Fast, erratic, barely visible. Then it appeared. Kilo Glitch wasn't fully solid. Its form shifted constantly, like a broken signal trying to stabilize. Fragments of digital code seemed to ripple across its body, and its movements skipped like a corrupted video feed. 1 second, it stood across the room. The next, it was inches away. Nightwolf reacted instantly, dodging as the entity lashed out with a distorted strike that cracked the wall behind him. His suit struggled to lock onto it. Readings fluctuated wildly, unable to maintain a stable target. He adapted. Switching his systems to predictive tracking, he began anticipating its movements rather than relying on direct scans. Kilo Glitch attacked again, phasing through a console and reappearing behind him. But Nightwolf countered, using a shock pulse from his gauntlet to disrupt its form momentarily. The entity flickered violently, its shape destabilizing before snapping back into place. It wasn't enough to fight it physically. Nightwolf moved quickly, accessing the facility's main system. If Kilo Glitch was tied to digital infrastructure, then its weakness had to be there as well. As the entity closed in again, he initiated a system-wide overload, redirecting power into a contained loop. The building's lights surged, energy pulsing through every circuit. Kilo Glitch reacted immediately, its form becoming unstable as the energy spikes interfered with its existence. It lashed out wildly, its movements becoming more erratic, less controlled. Nightwolf held his ground, maintaining the overload despite the risk. "Let's see how you handle this," he muttered. With one final surge, the system peaked. The energy wave hit Kilo Glitch directly, causing it to fragment into dozens of flickering pieces. For a moment, it looked like it would reassemble, but then the fragments began to fade, collapsing into nothingness as the overload severed its connection to the physical world. Silence returned to the facility. Nightwolf stood still, scanning for any remaining traces. The readings stabilized. Whatever Kilo Glitch was, it was gone, for now. But as he reviewed the system logs, something caught his attention. The glitch hadn't appeared naturally. There were signs of external interference. Someone had created it, or at least triggered its existence. This wasn't random. It was deliberate. As always, Nightwolf left before the authorities arrived, disappearing into the night. The city would call it another mystery, another unexplained incident. But Nightwolf knew better. Kilo Glitch was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, someone was experimenting with things that shouldn't exist. And he was going to find them. If you want next, I can write Nightwolf Mysteries #2, where Nightwolf tracks down who created Kilo Glitch, possibly tying it into Victor Halden, the Brain, or a major villain in the beta storyline.
I don't get it either, Chris.
I still need to know if the part about not laying with another man, if that was a wrong translation or not.
Yeah, I kind of want to know myself.
Says apparently that part was a wrong translation that meant pedophilia and not gayness.
Pedophilians?
Yeah.
Pedophilians, that's what we're going to start calling them.
Pedophiles, you know.
Yeah, well, they need their own little pedophilian land on an island somewhere in the middle of the fucking sea.
I believe they already had that.
They need to put all the little pedophilians there.
Oh, you mean like a place like Alcatraz?
Yeah.
Like a prison, but for just pedophiles.
Right.
No, just send them to normal prison. Send them to normal jail. Hey, if they die there, that's their fault.
Oh well. What do they get? Buried. Where? In a hole.
Anyways, though, because I have started thinking, you know, like, if it's gay, if it's a sin to be gay, you don't choose to be gay. You're kind of born that way.
Right.
So that means, so if you go to hell for being gay, God basically is targeting you and said, "Fuck you. I hate you personally. You're going to hell." And the reason, and I started thinking about this last night because, you know how people are, you know, they lay in there in bed, they can't fall asleep, so the mind starts to wander about random shit, you know. And, well, I'm just sitting there thinking, what the fuck were they thinking when making this shit? What the fuck do you mean that I'm going for something that I had no choice over? That's like saying you're going to jail because your father did a crime and he's dead, so you have to do it.
You gotta do it and pay.
And that does happen in some other places, which is stupid. Because I'm a 5-year-old kid. The fuck you mean I gotta go to jail for murder?
Yeah, because your dad died and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of those places are very religious. And I believe from the Bible itself, it said, and I quote, "The son should not suffer from the sins of the father."
Right.
So, yeah, I just started thinking about this, you know. And think about how fucked up we are as a society.
Our society is very fucked up.
Yes, it is.
But a lot of people don't know that. Why?
Here's your Nightwolf Mysteries
Or they
number
just don't
2,
care.
written in your long, continuous format and part of the beta storyline. Nightwolf Mysteries number 2. This is part of the beta storyline, part 1 of part 4 of Saga 1. Jackson City wasn't used to celebrating heroes, but this time was different. Nightwolf Day had spread across the city, a rare moment where people stepped out of fear and into appreciation. Vendors lined the streets, children wore masks shaped like wolves, and one product in particular had become unexpectedly popular, Nightwolf Ice Cream, a special edition treat designed in his likeness. Nightwolf himself watched from a distance, perched high above the celebration. He didn't seek recognition, didn't want it, but seeing the city come together, even briefly, was something he couldn't ignore. It reminded him why he did what he did. That peace didn't last. The first reports came in quietly. Freezers malfunctioning, ice cream melting and reforming, strange security cameras. At first, it was dismissed as faulty equipment or pranks, but then came the real sighting. A creature, large, shifting, and unmistakably shaped like a wolf, had been seen moving through the alleys near the festival grounds. Nightwolf moved immediately. Tracking the disturbance led him to a distribution warehouse where pallets of Nightwolf ice cream were stored. The temperature inside fluctuated wildly, cold air turning to mist, then back again. His suit picked up an anomaly, something alive but not biological in any normal sense. Then it emerged. The creature stepped from the shadows, its form dripping and reforming constantly. It was made entirely of ice, swirling colors, melting edges, and frozen structure all at once. But its shape was deliberate. A wolf. His symbol. Nightwolf didn't hesitate, but he didn't attack immediately either. He studied it. The creature moved cautiously, almost curiously, its glowing eyes fixed on him. It wasn't mindless. It had chosen this form. "You don't belong here," Nightwolf said, his voice steady. The creature let out a low, distorted growl, its body shifting slightly as if struggling to stabilize. Then it lunged. Nightwolf dodged, rolling to the side as the creature crashed into a stack of crates, freezing and shattering them on impact. He countered with a controlled strike. But his gauntlet passed partially through its form, the substance reforming instantly. Physical attacks alone wouldn't stop it. He adapted. Using his suit's temperature controls, Nightwolf generated a rapid heat pulse, forcing the creature's structure to destabilize. Parts of it began to melt uncontrollably, dripping to the floor before pulling back together. It recoiled, but didn't retreat. Instead, it circled him, faster now, more aggressive. The fight intensified. The creature lashed out with freezing bursts, turning the ground slick and unstable, while Nightwolf relied on agility and precision to avoid being overwhelmed. He used the environment, knocking over refrigeration units and triggering temperature shifts to keep the creature off balance. But as the battle continued, something became clear. It wasn't trying to kill him. It was reacting, defending itself, existing. Nightwolf paused for a fraction of a second, analyzing. The creature had formed from something created in his image, something tied to the city's celebration. It wasn't born from malice. It was a product of something gone wrong, or something unexplained. He changed tactics. Instead of attacking directly, he moved toward the main refrigeration system, overriding its controls. If the creature depended on unstable temperature conditions, then stabilizing them might neutralize it. As the creature lunged again, he activated a rapid containment cycle. Extreme cold followed by controlled stabilization. The creature froze mid-motion, its form locking in place. For a moment, it struggled, cracks forming across its body, but then the movement slowed and stopped. The swirling colors faded into stillness. What remained was no longer a living entity, just a frozen sculpture of a wolf made of ice cream. Nightwolf approached carefully, scanning it one last time. No energy readings, no movement, just silence. He stood there for a moment, looking at the frozen figure. It had chosen his symbol. Whether by instinct or coincidence, he couldn't say. But it hadn't been evil, just something that shouldn't have existed. As always, he sent an anonymous alert to the authorities before disappearing into the night. By the time they arrived, they would find nothing more than a strange, frozen remnant of what had once been a living anomaly. Back above the city, Nightwolf looked down at the fading lights of the festival. Even in celebration, the city created new dangers, and he would always be there to face them. If you want, I can continue with Nightwolf Mysteries number 3, where things get darker again, maybe tying these strange anomalies, Kilo Glitch, the ice cream creature, into a single mastermind behind them.
No, thank you.